lot of people who are first generation, there isn't proper context to the things that have happened in this country.
Ooh.
So when we start talking about our wealth, our health, our business, family business. And I want to take the time to welcome all of our family members out there that came and took a seat at the table. And, we're going to have a conversation. We're going to have a nice conversation, one that we feel has to be had. You know what I mean? Amongst us, for us, by us, you know how it go. So thank you again, everybody, for tuning in to another episode of Family Business. I want to introduce our next guest, today, Mayeni.
Hello.
What's going on? What's going on?
Yes,
introduce yourself, please.
So my name is Mayeni. Yes, I did meet you at Black Dot, and at that time I was really going through my spiritual journey. So you start attracting people, right?
That's
So
dope.
I was like, oh, it's working. Right. So my name is Mayeni. I go by Smile Presley on my social media platforms. I am a certified life coach, but I just got the certification just to put a label behind what I've always been doing, which is I've always been a intuitive person, and I don't know. It's I think Bob Marley one time said you don't become a Rasta, you're a Rasta from creation, right? Mm-hmm. So I've always been this way, but I had to come into myself through circumstances. I'm 30, so I made it out my 20s alive, and I'm proud of it. I got all my strikes. So now I'm just really focused on the mental well-being of people, especially our people, because there's a lot of trauma, there's a lot of things that need to be talked about. So it's really my mission to help heal. And my life path number is 11, so that's a healing master number. So, everything is just aligning for me to do that type of work. So I'm just so happy. I'm so happy that this aligned like this and to be here. So thank you so much for having me.
No, we appreciate you for being here. And this is that environment. This is that space. I do believe in alignment, divine timing. Mm-hmm. You said we did meet, and we met probably a little bit under a year ago, maybe a little bit over a year ago.
Yeah.
And this is a divine timing. We came together. I know you have your podcast that you've been pushing out, and it's going amazingly. And I want to thank you for creating that space for people to come and share and express and grow. And now we're just starting, our family business podcast. Yeah. So here we are. And that is definitely what we want to talk about. We're going to talk about our people, our growth, and our development. Yes. So it's only fitting that you come in and bless the mic,
I'm excited.
But I do want to start off with a question, Now we're going to get into ancestry, we're going to get into growth and development. First, I want to know what kind of pushed you to bring your skill set, your particular skill set, your intuitiveness, your I guess you could say your spiritual cognition. What made you bring it to the podcast?
I feel when you learn something, right? When you learn anything that's profound for you, the first thing you want to do is everybody should know this. And then when you're going through something, it's sometimes you wish you there's some people that will say certain things that will resonate, and it can help. You know what I mean? So I wanted to create that space because I feel God helped me through a lot, and I feel people they need that. So if you feel called to do that, do it. Talk about it. The more people doing it, the better. Right. So that's what pushed me to start.
For sure. Podcast. I know we're in an era where we one of the big topics is mental health, especially in our community. Now, I'm not really a big fan of the institution version of mental health, the diagnostic, but I do understand that mental health is a big thing. But one of the keys for mental health is that group experience, being able to surround yourself with like-minded individuals, and then being in a space where you can express yourself freely without that, without the stigmas, without the stereotypes, without any type of judgment. Is that something that you create for people on your platform?
Yes, that's something that I create on my platform, but also in 2023, I'm definitely creating that physically as well, because it just became really clear for me that people need that. You know what I mean? Like, and I never wanted to step out because you start something like, what if people don't come? You know, those things that you tell yourself,
right. or self-limiting beliefs.
The enemy tells you to not do something like that. But it's like, if 2 people come, that's 2 people that needed it. So I definitely believe, and we could talk. I know we're gonna talk about this, but creating community is so important. Like, people need resources. People need people to lean on. So yes, absolutely.
And I know, like right now, social media and other things, a lot of the stuff could get saturated. You know what I mean? So it does present that kind of like, oh man, what if they don't listen to mine, or what if they? But one thing I've always like held on to, and I'm a spoken word artist, and so when I first started, the things I was talking about, and I've always been a rebel, but a lot of my earlier spoken word was a lot more revolutionary. But I always thought to myself, like, man, how are people gonna feel about this? You know, are they really even gonna clap, or are they just gonna look at me while I'm up there? You know what I mean? And you have that in the back of your head. But one thing I've, you know, and the Most High gave me this, and he said, it's funny because it's from a movie. If you build it, they will come. You know what I mean?
I like that.
And you don't, and you don't necessarily wait till you have, you know, the okay from everyone. You know what I mean? You do something that's divinely guided, and then the guidance in it is what you're there for. You're not there for the multitude. It's like, no, just create this space. You know what I mean? And then allow me to fill that space up. You know? Yeah. And so have you seen that? Have you seen that like kind of occur since you started?
Yeah. So first, I love we ain't gonna go over that. Like, what you just said was dope. Divinely guided. That's so true. And then you said you was a rebel. I feel like everybody that takes a spiritually divergent path, they've always been a rebel in some way. You know, because you get judged, you get rocks thrown at you, you're going the opposite way, so you're rebelling. You know?
Yes.
But no, I love that. And I feel like I'll take that into consideration. Create the space, and like,
people will flock to it.
Yeah, and but it's like, it's true, it has to be divinely guided, and you don't care, right? Like,
no, you can't.
You can't.
So one thing I like to notice is that, and honestly, I'm a Gemini, and I know you're a Gemini too.
Hey.
You know what I'm saying? So one thing about
Gemini.
Right?
Don't come for me.
Nah, come for me.
Don't come though.
Yeah, because
a lot of people have been hurt by Gemini.
Yo, you know what?
I apologize.
I've always heard that. You know what I mean? And we talked a little bit. But you know what the thing is? It's needed. The world needs Geminis. Just like the world needs rebels, the world needs Geminis. Sometimes, you know, those feathers have to be ruffled in order to get to the truth.
Right.
You know what I mean? And
that's true.
I think a lot of, you know, growth, a lot of that comes from not being afraid to express yourself, and not being afraid to have people disagree with you. You know what I mean? Yeah. Let them throw stones, because if it's divinely guided, they definitely gonna throw stones. I mean, look, in the Bible they killed Jesus. Yeah, and he didn't tell a lie. Exactly. So what they think they're gonna do to you for talking the truth and talking, you know, from your heart, from your spirit? You know what I mean? People find a way to like hate anybody. Right. And I said this before. Like, some people really don't like themselves, right? So like, how do you expect them? Why do you care so much? Right. If they like you, I don't want to curse, but I don't want to down like family business. You know, it's family business. My mom might watch this. I got you. But no, I don't want to stomp on like Libras. I feel like every sign is needed, right? And every evolved sign has their place. For Libra energy is very like, I want to come in, I want people to like me, you know, like they have that aesthetic of like, and sometimes it can be in a people-pleasing way, but they want to be liked. They care about how they're perceived. Whereas Gemini sometimes... Tell the world. I don't know. I feel like it's not so much important that people like us. I feel like it's important that people may like hear us and like hear the truth. And like, if we mess with you, we really mess with you. So we're not really focused on trying to get everybody. Right. You know, it's I don't want everybody. It's just the ones who vibe with me gonna vibe with me. I mean, I can only speak, and I know that you have more of a background in astrology than I do. I love astrology. I'm an astrology nerd. Yeah. Well, then you gotta tell me about myself then. 'Cause I'm a Gemini. What's your moon? Some Scorpion. No. Scorpio. My moon's in Scorpio. For real? We're twins. Really? Yeah, we're like twins. Then that's what attracted us. Right. That's what happened. Right. That's what happened. And now we're here. See, divine alignment. You are from Sierra Leone.
in Ghana.
Right. Well, we can talk about that too.
Yeah.
In fact, I actually did want to bring that up because, part of mental health, part of growth and development, especially in our community, we've been, all of it staring us in the face. Some people don't like to acknowledge it. Some people hide from it. Other people, they stare right back at it. But there's a lot of, our history in this country is marked with a lot of different trials and tribulations. Let's keep it like that.
Yeah.
And I'm interested to know, you being from Sierra Leone, correct?
I was born here, but
first generation, correct?
Yes, first generation.
First generation. I would want, how do you perceive our culture from that first generation standpoint?
That's a good question. And I feel like when I say this, a lot of people who are first generation will agree. When you're younger, you want to do everything you can to assimilate. And this is that's a microcosm of a bigger issue of kids. You don't want to stand out. You don't want to get made fun of. You just want to do everything you can to blend in. I always thought my mom was going to pop up at school with a big old head wrap and a big old Africana and dress. You know what I'm saying? And that was my worst fear. And I also, my name is Mayeni. I wanted a more American sounding name. I was like, man, I wish my name was something,
Yeah.
So when you're younger, because you want to assimilate, you kind of neglect your Africanness. And not only that, but American kids do that as well. If you're African and you're watching this, Americans, they used to call Africans African booties.
African booties. I ain't gonna hold you. I heard that a couple times. I ain't even African, you know what I mean? But I guess
you didn't say it, did you?
Nah.
So this was
I was raised a different way.
Okay, good.
We'll get because I want to touch on that subject too because I actually talked to my partner about that because I was brought up Hebrew Israelite. My father and my mother were deep in the ministry. Was raised with it. My name is Hebrew, and I was brought up in a very Afrocentric community. How can you kind of relate to that feeling?
I feel you, and it seems like you always kind of been this way. Obviously you don't assimilate now. Obviously it's got worse. Divergent path. So it's that's been in you for a very long time, and that's beautiful. And nobody was able to take that.
They tried.
Because that's what happened with us, right?
Yeah.
They see that, and they try to beat it out of you.
Yeah.
Who are you to have a strong identity?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's the problem that we face. So people need to see more. Kids need to see more.
Right. Be exposed to different things. Be exposed to more.
Absolutely.
So how did you kind of maintain your identity and your Africanness? I see you now with the beautiful head wrap.
Thank you.
The jewelry.
Yeah.
And you emanate that. You know what I'm saying? So.
Yeah, it's crazy. But I mean, that whole assimilating thing, that didn't happen. It didn't last long because I feel like I don't assimilate anyway. I really don't fit into, I don't fit into groups, even spiritual community.
Right.
I had to, when I first started learning, I wanted to because I was I don't fit into community because I'm never going to do things the way a group does it.
Right.
It's about free thinking. It's don't follow me. I want you to follow yourself. Right?
Definitely.
So that didn't last. I've always been weird, did my own thing. But I don't know, maybe I've always been, I look African. How can I it can't escape it. I went to Ghana and I was they all look like me. I got the African forehead. It's out. I'm
No doubt.
It's I can't hide it, but it's now
it.
Now I adorn it. I adorn myself. I'm it's such a blessing to be African, to be melanated. It is so beautiful. We are so lucky, and I will accentuate that every chance I get. I have locks. There's no mistaking. So this is who I've always meant to be. I just had to find my way into it, and here I am.
Man, I think a lot of that is, they try to get it, like you said, at a young age.
Yes.
We see our school systems, and the story I told you, it's like that happens, and it happens in so many different ways where they push you. And oh man, I have actually stories of. So when I was younger, I had braids. I was thinking I was in 4th grade with braids, right? And so I was only one of probably 3 people in my class that had braids. And I remember my teacher at the time. Oh man, I can't stand her. Miss Card, I'll never forget it. Yeah, I'll never forget it. I remember she saying to me one time, real boys don't wear braids. but at that young age, and at the time,
that is just unbelievable.
Yeah, it wasn't something that you saw around you. So then when she said it to me, I internalized it.
Okay.
So from that point on, shortly after that, I cut my hair, and I kept it cut. Like I used to cut my own hair, so I never went to the bar. I cut my own hair, shaved it up since like young age. Either that, or my father, or my sister. You know what I mean? But I always kept it low, and it wasn't until I was like 25, and I was reading a book. It was The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. Check it out if you haven't checked it out. But one of the things that he challenged you with was, what was something that you accepted that was placed on you that wasn't rightfully yours. And when I started to think about, because we get so engulfed in American culture sometimes, we don't really see where that line is because we're so surrounded by it. But I started to think about some of the things that weren't me, you know what I mean? And that was one of them. And from that moment on, that's when I started growing my hair. You know what I mean?
Were you like angry at all? Did you have a time where you like?
When I was, during my...
Once you read that book and you realized that you had made an agreement with someone, were you just...
No. It's funny you asked that question because my story about where I came from and how I got here is definitely, there was a period of time, I played like 6 to 7 years where I was definitely depressed. I was depressed, and I can look back and say I was depressed, suicidal thoughts, the whole nine. And it was because of what I knew. I couldn't see myself in the world anymore. Where I knew myself to be. You know what I mean? Because when you get, it was no mistaking when I was younger. And it was reinforced everywhere I went. The community centers, the community activities, the ministry. It was so reinforced. But then you get up a certain age and you go out to college and you start, moving around with people. You start to lose yourself. And then I got the reality of, this is the real world. Yeah, it's not, there isn't a lot of integrity. There isn't a lot of, wisdom. There isn't a lot of people moving in their highest self. There's a lot of, things that you have to deal with when you move in the real world. And I got into a little bit of a trouble. I got suspended from school, kicked off the football team, a bunch of different things happened, and I lost my identity. And in that losing of the identity, that started the depression because I couldn't find myself anymore. I couldn't connect to the Hebrew Israelite because I was removed from that community once I went off to college and started playing football and started doing things. I didn't, go back to it. After that, it was more like, who are you and what are you doing here? You know what I mean? And then the whole black thing hits you. You know what I mean? You start reading, I'm big on reading, I'm big on learning my history, and so you get reinforced with all the things that happened to you. You know what I mean? And then what I wanted to connect with was so like scrutinized and so ridiculed, and so it was just a long period of real depression and like isolation. So I was that person who like gave up all worldly possessions. I turned into a minimalist. It was an experience. No, go ahead.
It's a lot to go through. Like all that information at once.
Yeah.
And you're like, I see how like you would feel like you lost. Like, where's my place in this world? Right. Because your spirit and your body is not aligned.
Exactly.
And that may be a lot of like the causes for like maybe suicidal thoughts today. I think there's like, because they say suicide sometimes comes from just a lack of hope. Like the person, they just literally have lost hope for whatever reason. And I know that's a very important topic.
No, we could dive into it because I mean, I don't know if this is one of your skill sets, but you're definitely opening me up to conversations that I don't like typically have with people. But that's exactly what happened. I'm introverted by nature. You know what I'm saying? I'm a Gemini, so there's an extroverted part of me, but I'm introverted by nature. Right. And then there's like, I had to really sit and think with myself. You know what I mean? I had to overcome, and I will give spoken word and poetry is what saved my life. I say that all the time because I was able to write myself out of a depression. Yeah. I was able to write myself in that lack of hope because that's what it was. Yeah. It was what am I doing? Right. What am I going to do? What can I do? And people, see me doing spoken word, and I've done projects, and I push myself to build my own, You know what I mean?
Right.
And I wonder, like, why you go so hard? Like, why you do all that? It's because, man, this is what feeds me. This is what fed me when I was like didn't know who I was or where I belong, and then I created it for myself.
Wow.
I was able to redefine, and that's a line on my poem, but it's like you get to redefine yourself in the image of your greater self.
Yeah.
And so I took that, like, yo, when I was at the rock bottom, I'm like, yo, you know what? It's a good thing. Because now I could go ahead and put myself back together. And then when I put myself back together and I created my own identity, that's what gave me the impetus to go forward. That's what gave me that drive to, like, yo, you know what? I'm going to express myself, and I'm going to be unapologetic about it. Because I know you want me to feel bad about myself. I know you want me to feel this type of way. But the Most High gave me, like, love, life, you know what I mean? And I owe it to that. I owe it to the spirit to represent, you know what I mean? So
I'm smiling because, like, it's beautiful, right? Like,
appreciate that.
In pain, like, sometimes, like, there's beauty in pain. And it's like a phoenix, like, from the ashes.
Yes.
Have
you had an experience like that?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
The reason it's because it's, like, resonated because, like, poetry is, like, my retreat, right? And I was, like, on the way here, I was thinking, I was like, I'll always be okay because I always have poetry.
Right.
Like, even if I'm by myself, it's dark. I've written myself out of, like, hard times too. Like, I think I wrote a poem and I was like, yes, like, this encompasses everything that I'm feeling. It's called Scorpio Thoughts because of that Scorpio moon.
Right.
And I'll tell you more about it later. But sometimes, like, I guess the sign of Scorpio is very, like, it could be kind of dark sometimes because it's supposed to, like, transform. It's transforming you and then transforming others.
Right.
So a lot of Scorpios go through this, like, deep, like, transformation of self.
Right.
But it's like, it's water. It's a water sign. Water is emotions.
Gotcha.
Right? So sometimes it can, you know, like, I could be out and then sometimes it's like, I want to be in my room. Like, my parents always, like, they used to say, like, I don't know, like, they always used to ask me if I was, like, depressed, but it was just, like, I really just love being alone. I still do.
Still do.
Still
love
do.
Isolation.
Anybody that's, like, dealing with, like, thoughts, right? Because this is what this is for. Like, obviously, we're also, like, we're in a spiritual realm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, if you're watching this, for anybody listening or watching, if you feel that disconnect, it might be that, like how we're talking about, maybe you haven't discovered yourself. And ask. Don't just take yourself out the game. Because I'm sure that if you're here, it's for a purpose. And life becomes beautiful when it's just like, when all this stuff comes off. And it's like, you played football, so society reaffirms. Like,
Right.
Yeah.
But what happens with the clap stop?
Exactly. So that becomes your identity. I was, like, an accountant for 5 years. So the world was like, but that's not who I was. That's not even what I wanted to do. But that's, like, I stayed in it because I got the public acclaim. Everyone claps for you when you're doing what they want you to do.
Right.
But if you put your identity into anything and that gets taken away, you're going to be stripped of that. You're going to be, like, lost. So I always say never validate yourself in external things. And that's why it's so big not to value material. Because if somebody takes that away from you, then what? When the world stopped during COVID, it was a mad place because no one ever took time to really sit with themselves and know who they are, know what they like, you know? Find your retreat. Like I said, poetry is my retreat. Yours could be music. If you wanted to be a secret artist for 20 years, write. Find an instrumental. Write. Create
and
that
don't
space.
Look for the validation. You are your own validation.
Yeah.
The gift that you have is the validation. And that's one thing I was able to connect it to because the Most High has always been my rock.
Right.
My leaning towards, like, yo, you know what?
Right.
It said, don't fall in love with the things of the world. This world is fleeting. Don't be of this world. You be in this world, but not of this world. This world is fleeting. And so I kind of held on to that when it was like the things that I thought I was connecting to would drop. And I remember telling my sister this one time, and I compared it to imagine having, you know, a jug full of pennies. Right? You saved up these pennies forever, and you went and got them water jugs full of pennies, and then the Most High says, yo, dump out all them pennies. Like, What you mean dump out all my pennies? I've been saving these pennies for 10 years. Like, yo, dump out all my pennies.
That's how I feel if God asked me to cut my hair. Because I just started growing. And I was like, I had to question myself. I was like, damn, if I got the call, like, cut your hair off now.
Right.
I'll be like.
But but that's, and honestly, maybe those are some of the things that we attached ourselves to. And for me, that was it. What I learned from it was that there was an attachment that I had that I had to get rid of. You know what I mean? In order to find my true self.
Right.
And so the analogy was, he asked me to take out all these pennies. And I'm like, okay, well, he's going to fill them back up with quarters, right?
Right.
And it sounds great.
Yeah.
But those are my pennies. Like, you might fill them up with quarters, but those are my pennies. I went through those, and that's, you know what I mean? But being able to let all of that go, then it's like, now look at the empty jug. And the day that my life changed, I'll never forget it, is when I fell in love with the fact of having nothing. Like, when you can, a lot of times we latch on to things. I'm happy because of this. I'm thrilled because of this. I'm in love because of this. But there was a point in time, and it was like right after the darkest moment, the darkest before the dawn. It was just a period when I was sitting out and I was in the woods, and I was just like, yo, it's all good. I didn't have nothing. There was no money, there was no car, there was no relationship, there was no nothing. But I was at peace. And I said, wow. I call it zero when I talk to myself. I call it zero. If I'm good at zero, you can never take anything away from me.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And so one of the things that I did was, and I recommend this to everybody. Like I said, I'm not in mental health. I'm not in, those things. I have my divine expression.
Right.
But one thing that happened is, and like I said, I tell everybody to do this. I sat down one day and I went to go look for, I have this picture of me at like 5 years old. You know what I mean? And I sat down and I started looking for him. I'm looking for that 5-year-old me.
Wow.
And when I found him, he had a frown on his face. Like, just meditating and I visioned, I saw him with a frown on his face. And I asked him, I said, yo, what's wrong? And he told me. He said, you don't think about me anymore. You don't even talk to me. And it was like eye-opening, because it's like, wow, before I was a football player, before I knew I was this, before I knew I was that, it was this kid right here. And that's what it was. And I'm like, wow, you know what? It was a liberating feeling. Yeah. To know that I could still be without anything. You know what I mean? And I say that because a lot of things that I see out in the world is because of people's need for that, either the validation, the attachment. They need to be, something has to give them their identity. Facts. And it's reinforced every day when we watch TV, when we listen to music, when we go out into the world. You know what I mean? We especially in Western culture, we're so quick to label. Oh, you're a vegan. Yeah. Nah, sometimes I like to eat vegetables, sometimes I eat fruit, sometimes I eat meat. You know what I mean? And that's just me, but just that idea of having to be a label or something. Right. But that takes away from your freedom, because now you have to move in that label as opposed to just being free and experiencing every day for what it is. Very true. You know? Very true. That's so powerful. That's so powerful. Appreciate that. When this space is bringing it out.
And I'm so happy that you went through that. Like, I'm so happy that you came to this.
Appreciate
even though it's difficult, you know what I'm saying? It's like, this is who you're meant to be. You know, and I'm so happy that you like it.
Well, we're not gonna make this about me. You know what I'm saying? It's about the family. So I want to know about your identity. You know what I'm saying? Being first generation. This gotta be a crazy world. Western culture gotta be a crazy world. Do you see any differences from like kind of your family and how they kind of like move within the world as opposed to people who are traditionally, you know what I mean, Americans?
Yeah, and you could like correct me on this, but I started like realizing this as I got older. I feel like a lot of Africans or just people of different cultures are like, it's like this binding, this family unit. I feel like, because I was born in America, so I'm African American. But I feel like American culture.
That's dope. Like you said, I'm African American, and it makes sense.
I'm African though.
Yeah, right. Because I don't never say I'm African American. No.
Well, I mean, like, as far as like, if you were to
But
talking
literally
to someone from like American, so they can understand the culture I grew up in, right?
Right.
So like I feel like sometimes in American culture, and I'm saying this because we need to talk about this. It's like this me.
Right.
Like I have a business, I'm gonna keep the knowledge to myself. If I got a booth, you can't really come because you might take this away from me. It's like I. But everybody else, all the other cultures is we.
Right.
And that's a detriment to the community. We have to learn to work together. Like you really gotta see each other as brother and sister because everybody else does. Right. And it's not a coincidence. That's
how it's purposeful.
It's divide and conquer. Why are brothers looking at other brothers like the enemy? Yes. How do they get us to annihilate each other?
Right.
Genocide.
And that's one of the things that like is big for me in my expression. And some people don't like it because of the way I talk about it or how I talk about it. But it is a fundamental American value. Individualism is something that they actually teach. Yeah, like it's in their paperwork. It's literally in their paperwork.
Yeah. So
this is people. I love my brothers in the community, and we always talk about this. It's the communal aspect.
Yeah.
It's the communal aspect, the group experience, which is embedded in our DNA. But when we are when we are in a society that reinforces individualism, what it does is it creates an internal conflict. That's why we have so much trouble trusting each other because we want to, but we've been taught not to. Yes. And so we're battling ourselves.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so for a lot of other cultures, like it's a natural thing.
Yeah.
It's a natural thing, but you got to think about our presence here in the United States, and I say this all the time. We've been taught how to live. We've been taught by American culture.
Right.
So when I was growing up, I had the privilege to have the parents that I had, and I'm blessed for it. So I was always taught outside of it. Yeah. But when you go and you look at it, and you look at the high school education, you look at the college education, no, you're taught. I had people telling me, you just worry about yourself. You know what I mean? You do what you do.
That's a popular saying. Worry about yourself.
Yeah, just worry. Oh, I ain't hurt nobody. Worry about yourself. Yeah, like, all of our actions affect one another. Facts. You know what I mean? Your consent affects what happens to us.
Right.
And so it's a fundamental American thing, but and it's taken away from our ability to work with each other, cooperate, but it's also taken away from our ability to, like, how do I say this, to reemerge our glory. Because we work best when it's all of us. Right. But if everybody looking at you side eye, like, I can't trust him, I can't, and it's in the rap music, cut a bit off, cut this person off, cut this person off, this person, you gotta cut him. It's like, that's really not how it's supposed to be. Yeah. You know what I mean? If you see it, we ain't gonna get to it.
I think it's getting better though.
Okay.
Let me be specific. With the black businesses, like when people like actively trying to support black businesses, like I think a lot of people, they see it. Like even my brother, he said like he went to a tequila festival, he said he bought the tequila because they're black owned. So the problem I have though is when that started happening, all these other businesses that are not black
piggybacking off the movement
started, Black Lives Matter and the window, right? So now they've taken away from the core purpose. The purpose was to support black businesses. So it didn't say, I'm going to support you just because you support a black business. Right. But that's purposely done. So it's like, if I'm like, I'm going to support this, and now everywhere I see it goes back to the same thing. Yeah. I think, like, obviously we know the black dollar is so powerful. Right. If we really supported our businesses, it will make a big difference. And everybody else wouldn't profit on us. I know people say this so much. We all know that everybody else profits off of black people, of black culture. Like, why am I buying stuff from an Asian person? Why am I buying stuff?
I'm gonna tell you,
but stuff for me from an Asian.
Right. I'm gonna say this, and I want everybody to hear this. I hope this is. I know I'm gonna use it to talk about. This is something I feel very strongly that I feel like we all need to know this. It's not racism. Racism is not the problem, right? It's not the problem. It's never been the problem. Yeah. What the problem is the manipulation and exploitation of a disenfranchised people for their lack of resources and lack of knowledge. I know it's a long sentence, you know what I mean? You can't just short it down to one word. But all it is a manipulation and exploitation. And then when people come over here, they see the pattern of American culture. You said it yourself. We run this engine that is the American culture. We run it with the music, buying power, media, entertainment, everything.
The fashion,
everything. We fuel it, and it's always been that way. And this is the tricky part. This is the thing that we have to actually be intentional about. It's being done on purpose. I've had the ability to work in different spaces, and like I lived in the mountains for a while, so I was around white people, white culture, being the only black person in that area. And I've always been an observant person, so I'm starting to notice things. But it is a practice. It's not by happenstance. It is a practice. They actually come in and they exploit us and they keep knowledge away from us, because if we don't know how things work, we're just gonna go along with it. It took me I had to go through certain things to learn certain things, obviously. But when my father passed away, and when he passed away, we lost the house. You know what I'm saying? He had a house, and we lived in this house for about 18 years. He passed away, we lost it in maybe like 6 months.
Oh man.
And when he passed away, me being the oldest boy, all of the paperwork came in my lap. I'm talking like
on top of grieving.
All of it.
And my condolences, by the way, too.
I appreciate that. I mean, he's still here. He's watching this now. But thick package, like numerous of paperwork, legal documents, this. You have this to get out, and it's intimidating because you don't know what you're looking at. Me at the age, I'm like, my father was traditional in a way where he took care of the finances. You know what I mean? And my mother didn't really know anything about the mortgages or the bills that were being paid outside of your utilities. You know what I mean? But when it happened, you just it started to crumble down. We ended up losing the house, and the family got split up. And so that kind of gave me the motivation to learn. And then once I started learning about how the economics in America works, it's very obvious. They're exploiting us. They're manipulating us for our lack of understanding and lack of knowledge.
So what are they exploiting exactly?
Well, number one, we can start from the top, fractional reserve banking. Fractional reserve banking is the fact that these banks that say that they're going to give you $10,000 or $20,000, they don't have any money. They don't have any money to lend you, and they're making money off of the interest that you're paying. And if you've ever taken a loan out, you've never seen hard money. It's all on computers. Number one, the United States has been off the gold standard since the 30s and been off the silver standard since the 60s. Our money isn't backed by anything. It's a promissory note, a promise to pay you back. Not only that, but the other aspect of it is the Federal Reserve Bank is not a federal institution. It is a private bank who lends money to the United States at an interest. So if somebody's making the money and giving it to you and charging you interest, where is the money to create the interest? It doesn't exist. It's just a cycle of debt. And that's how they keep you. And the other things that I've learned, I mean, we could go through it, but a lot of the things is we ain't gonna go too deep into it, but we are the perpetuation of debt. Once you're born into this country, there's a debt number attached to your social security card. It's not like brand new information. It's out there. It's not like hidden. There's a debt number. And through the course of your life, they can calculate how much money you're going to produce for the American economy. And that is what they use as leverage and collateral to borrow money from the Federal Reserve Bank, which is a private institution. So that's a lot to say, but if I could put it simply, there's a perpetuation of debt. You will always be in debt. You yourself are a debtor. The minute they give you a credit score, the minute you have a credit report, all that is a tracking of the debt that you owe.
What if you don't borrow?
It doesn't matter. Because the minute you go to school, there's money that's being paid. The minute you buy a house, the minute you do anything, it's a debt. You know what I mean? And then for us, because we were never taught about economics, we are instantly being injected into a debtor status without the only thing we know is get the bag.
Well, is that so? When people say, like, some people advise when you start a business, don't use their own money, right? And a lot of businessmen, white businessmen, say Like, I don't use my own money. Why use your own money?
Right.
And there's some people that say, oh, I don't want to borrow. So it's kind of like a conundrum.
So the thing, and you know, a lot of information coming out now when you start like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and How to Think and Grow Rich and things like that. There's a such thing as good debt, and there's a good book out there that's called The Banker's Code, and the Banker's Code shows you how the banks actually make money.
Okay.
But the thing is though, what you're listening to when you hear people like Donald Trump and you hear these billionaires talk about this, they're using the system. Right. Because they know how to. And
they could probably file bankruptcy, I'm sure, because their business operates outside of them, so they'll never really take a hit.
They know all the
tax. They're probably getting money because once you know your taxes, you can get money for. We could be getting money if we file it right. And then sitting here.
There's certain things that corporations can do when they start, and you hear people talk about it when they start talking about improving their credit. They charge off the debt. Charge off the debt. A lot of companies charge off the debt. Yeah. But there's so many loopholes for business. The United States don't respect the individual. They respect the business. That's why people, I don't know if you heard Waka Flocka talking about it, but there's been people in our culture that have talked about it. But start a business in your name. Don't put anything in your name. Don't put your house in your name. Don't put
just the business.
Just the business name. Because what it is you're an entity.
Yeah.
You as a person are an individual. You're a debtor. But once you create this LLC, it's an entity and you can use it as such. But these are things that we've never known. Matter of fact, they've kept it from us. You know what I mean?
That's the thing I have an issue with too, because at this point, if you are on Instagram, you have everything you need to learn about taxes. Right. Like, it's like, yes, they have, but how long can they keep it? The cat's out the bag. Yeah. So we all have this personal responsibility to seek. Right. And it's okay if you haven't. But
I see a shift.
I say be a seeker. It's a shift. Yeah. But I'm like, always be a seeker. And you will be like astounded by like what you find on that path. But like for me at this point, if I don't know something, I just didn't. It's me. Yeah. Anybody kept nothing from me.
Right. No, I get you. And one thing I always say is like, you have to be curious.
You have to be curious.
You know what I mean? You have to. Because we don't know what we don't know. You know what I mean?
That's true.
And that's the thing.
That's true.
Because you could go through life thinking, oh, no, this is how it works.
But also, like, I feel like I'm sounding like the op right now. But did anybody, it's like, I don't know if I want to say it like that. But I don't think people there's no one that has a responsibility to teach us anything. If everything, and I'm going to get to like the meat, right, of how we can stop this, okay? But nobody has a responsibility to teach you anything. Nobody owes you anything. Right. You know what I'm saying? Yes, we are brainwashed, okay? Yes, we are indoctrinated, programmed, all of it. At this point, there's so much information. If you're watching this, obviously whoever's watching this, they're pretty much aware, but they can also share with people. We have a responsibility to deprogram because, like I don't know why I was thinking about this. I was thinking about like ghosting. I don't know. When I was thinking about the podcast, I was like, if we're gonna talk about, I don't know, just ghosting, like people who ghost people, because I know we're gonna talk about related man and woman. And I was just thinking like, does anybody owe you to tell you I don't want to talk to you? Yo. We want that. It's like, do people really owe you an explanation? It's sad and it sounds harsh.
But no, it's true. No, like, I get you. I get it. That's what you're saying.
So I walk through like now it's like.
I think that's a Gemini. You know what I'm saying?
That's probably it.
The same way.
Yeah, it's kind of messed up too. Because I can see how it can be messed up. Like somebody just.
So my thing is this, right? And we could break it down. It's one thing I always say is. It's not our fault, it's our responsibility.
It's our responsibility.
It's not our fault, it's our responsibility.
Right. I would never blame people for not knowing. I see how that happens. I was like that too. But it's like now that I'm finding out, I'm not like, how could someone do this? I'm just like,
here's the thing, right? This is what I'm gonna break it down, right? And I'm gonna put you on the spot a little bit.
Go ahead.
Because first generation, right? I see a lot of it. Okay. A lot of people who are first generation, there isn't proper context to the things that have happened in this country. Ooh. So when we start talking about, it's like I tell them, it's not our fault, it's our responsibility. Yeah. But we have to acknowledge the things that were done. So absolutely. In the United States, and this is not social.
Absolutely.
This isn't like, oh, I feel this way, I feel that. No, we're talking about legislation.
Right.
Let's start from the beginning.
Yeah.
There was a point in time where we couldn't vote. We were considered 3/5 of a man.
Right.
3/5 of an individual.
Right.
Then there was a time where it was literally illegal for you to read. There's no other group of people in America that have had that placed on them where it was illegal to read. And not only illegal, but if you were caught reading, you could be sentenced to death. Let's fast forward a little bit. And there's much more. We talk about black codes, Jim Crow, things like that.
And stuff, the 13th Amendment still exists. Legal slavery.
Legal slavery,
absolutely,
yes.
Yeah.
Unless you're incarcerated. Slavery was abolished unless you're incarcerated, which then brings up the incentive
to put people
exactly
behind bars. Absolutely.
And why is America has more people incarcerated than most countries put together. I believe it's all countries put together, but I don't want to say it exactly. But there is, and then when you start talking about, and like I said, I'm a historian to a certain extent, but you start talking about the Rockefeller drug laws, you talk about the mandatory minimums, the 94 crime bill. There's an incentive to arrest us so that they can put us back into it. Now, while they're hunting you, it's pretty hard to read. I'm just going to put that out there.
Yeah.
Now, also, what people don't understand, well, I'm not going to say don't understand, but some people who haven't been educated to the point is, in this country, there was something called redlining, where they would not give you bank loans to buy a house. They would not give you mortgages.
Yeah.
Not only would they not give you mortgages to be in a certain area, they wouldn't give you mortgages, period. Banks would not loan out money. Like right now, they told FHA, put 3.5 down and, get on the house. There was none of that. Then it didn't matter how much money you had. They wouldn't give you that. So what we know about home ownership is it is a wealth building tool.
Right.
There's always been a wealth building tool. In this country, the original proclamation, the original documents was only meant for men that own property. Like before they discriminated against black people, they discriminated against people who didn't have property and who couldn't read.
Yeah.
That's how the kind of the country have unfolded. Once you go into redlining, things like that, you start looking into there's over 150 black towns that have either been burnt down, flooded out, even right here in Georgia, Lake Lanier. I believe it's Lake Lanier. Lake Lanier used to be a black-owned city, and I forgot how the story went, but I believe it was one of those situations where there's two guys who were accused of rape, and because they accused of rape, it eventually led to them killing everybody that was living in the city, and then they broke the dam and flooded the entire city. So, yes, it is not our fault because of these things, and with all of that to be said, it's not our fault that we were in this position because, you got your individuals who might have exceeded, you got your individuals that might have owned land and did these things, but we're talking about on a wider scale, there were actually things that were put in place to limit our growth and our development. Now we have to be able to, and what that does is to the mindset, because if I don't know, and then it's even a problem for me to ask, you're going to tell your kid, don't ask. And that's what's ended up happening.
And I think what I am saying is we have to get out that loop.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And that's the responsibility that comes in.
Because all that is true. And I will argue anybody down that says that type of stuff does not have effect of lineage.
Right.
It does.
Right.
What I'm saying is in 2022, right? If you have a phone and you're not educating yourself, you are on Instagram all day, spending your money on things that do not add any value. You have a problem. You know what I mean?
Right. And I don't want to cut you off. We can talk.
By the way, it's a very Gemini thing to cut people off. I have to really work on that.
I've been working on it. I'm actually pretty good at it, honestly.
So excited.
That's what it is.
So I feel like whatever. But I don't know. I think that if you're in schools telling kids I feel like you only got to hear you're a slave once. I don't need to learn for a whole semester how I was a slave because if I was a slave and I become even a janitor, I've moved up. I should be happy. I get money, right? But if you tell me I started as a king,
right,
and now I'm here, it's different. So telling someone that they started from nothing has a different effect on their psyche than telling them they started from everything.
Right.
And I think the mission now is to show people who they really are.
Yo, how does that affect you? Because I've always kind of like I've been curious. I was the one, who would ask, the girl that was from Dominican Republic, yo, what's it like to be in Dominican?
You're very like intrigued about that, about like this first generation.
Yeah, no, you gotta understand, like, I'm black. You know what I mean? When I say I'm black, I lived the Black American experience. Right. You know what I mean? Right. My father I'm third generation preacher kid. Okay. My grandfather, his father was murdered. He was a sharecropper. Wow. My great grandfather was murdered, and then his wife went to go find him, and then she never came back. Yeah. My grandfather was one of 9 kids. You know what I'm saying? So I got the stories of all of that. On the other side, my mother from Harlem. Yeah. Like, that's the blackest place in America for years. You know what I'm saying? For decades. So it's like when I think about when I was younger, I go on vacation, I go to the hood. You know what I'm saying? I go to the projects, and that's my culture. You know what I mean?
So let me say, to answer your question, I don't understand the American culture like the way I should. It's different. And it's different. The mindset, because I would only think that you have something that you can latch onto that represents your true greatness, whereas for us, we have to. It was strict, 100%. 100%. So that's why sometimes I don't get into certain conversations, because I'm very aware that, like, my culture was completely different. I grew up with everything African. Even our food. Everything. You know what I mean? Like, one of the big things in the black culture is our diet and what we eat. Very true. We always, you'll hear it from everyone, diabetes runs in my families. My father died from diabetes. Yeah. And so when I talk about, for a long time that was in my head. Diabetes runs in my family. Alcoholism runs in my family. Those are normal statements in black households. You know what I mean? But then I started thinking, diabetes can't run in your family. It's not a hereditary thing. Right. Now, over time, but it all has to do with diet. So then you start thinking about the food we eat. And for our culture, and man, matter of fact, tell me about your diet. Tell me about your diet. Yeah, because I love African food, honestly. Yeah, African food, man. I tell everybody, it's the best. You know what the crazy thing? It don't even look. It looks colorful, but it don't look like. And then when you eat it, it's like, oh my God. Yeah, man. It'd be so good. Nah, so it's funny because I became like plant-based. Yeah. So I'm like the only person that's like this in my family, by the way. Yes. What would you say? Have they like assimilated to the culture, or when I stopped eating meat, my dad was like, "Yeah, you need to eat. Like, you need to gain weight. Like, what are you doing?" Yes. Yeah. Because those families. African culture, right. I know. Yeah, they're better. Everybody's better now. Yeah, for real. Like, tell me about it. No, but it's meat. Like, it is meat. Yeah. But it's like it's so much to like talk about with food, because I'm big into that as well. No doubt. But in Africa, they're not eating like genetically processed, and there's a difference between like conscious cooking. That's why it's not so much about the meat. It's about the intention and eat like a conscious person. Like, I seen something on Instagram, like the Alfredo with the spaghetti, with the cheese, with the oil, with the heavy cream, with the grease, heavy cream. It's like that food has a connection to how you feel. The gut and the brain has a connection. So all of this depression, it sometimes comes directly from food. If you don't believe me, do a fast for 21 days and see how you feel. See how clear you are. So but African food, it was cultivated from eating off the land. So a lot of our dishes is made with like like my favorite thing is cassava leaves. If you know, you know. If you know, you know.
Nah, I don't know. Put me on.
It's like, but it's like leaves, spinach, egusi, okra soup. These are all vegetables that people, you know what I'm saying? Like they use off the land, mixed with the meat, mixed with some oil, so it's not as bad. But it still has, there's still some like health concerns because of the amount of oil and stuff like that. But these are like natural foods,
Nah, that's big.
And the American diet is different. And I grew up on American diet.
Yeah.
I grew up on both though.
Right.
Still
right.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what I was gonna kind of allude to, because when I was growing up, my mother used to always try to curb our diet because of the way we were brought up.
Live it. Let's say live it too, because diet.
Yeah.
Semantics.
Oh, diet, live it. Got you. Syntax, got you. All right.
Yeah.
What was I saying?
Your mom.
Oh yeah. So she tried to take us away from that American live it.
Yes.
But the thing was, it would be all around us. So it would be a struggle just to do that. It's like, you could, stop buying certain things from the grocery store, but when we go to school, you know what I mean? And then, you kid. You know what I'm saying? Oh, they got pizza at school? Oh, they got cheeseburgers? Oh, they got fries?
Right.
You know what I mean? No, you know what I mean?
Good.
Yeah. And everybody else.
And it's addictive.
Yeah, yup. And that's,
It's addictive.
That's another thing about American culture. And this is one thing I just in my reading and just studying, what I was in. These Food, Drug Administration, and these different
let's not even
American Heart Cancer Association. Yeah, they're not worried about anything that has anything to do with healthy living or healthy eating. You know what I mean? And so, we could go down.
They should be ashamed of themselves for proving some of this stuff. It's a joke. Even like the pharmaceuticals, like with the pills, it's a joke. Right.
Oh man, I hope she sees this. I used to date a girl.
Yeah.
And she was.
I hope she doesn't.
I do, because we've had this conversation. Listen, you make your life choices. You know what I'm saying? Listen, because my thing is this though. People don't like my life choices. You know what I mean? There are people that don't like my life choices, and I'm all right with that. So there's other people's life choices that I'm not a fan of, and I'm all right with that. I can not like that. I can not appreciate it.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean you're an evil person. You're a bad person.
You just don't agree.
And if you're in the street and you're burning, I'm going to throw some water on you and help you out. Like, it's not going to change how I react to you. It's just something that I'm cognitively aware of.
I feel you.
And she was a pharmacist.
Okay.
She was licensed.
I know y'all had arguments.
She was licensed to give you drugs.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And me at the time, I was still going through my battling, getting off of this American culture, getting off of this American diet. And I asked her, I'm like, yo, like, how you, like, I was there when she was studying, like, they have to do, big ups to her because she was borderline genius. The amount of reading and studying that pharmacists have to do is ridiculous because they have to know every drug in and out.
Yes.
But while she was studying, I'm really listening to her and I'm listening to her read and stuff like that. I'm like, yo, like, all of these drugs seem like there's a lot more bad that can happen than good. And then I'm starting to look at, so all of these chemicals is what they put into this pill? And then I'm thinking like, yo, how do you...
What'd she say?
This is the crazy thing. She's vegan. She doesn't even take the pills. She doesn't take any pharmaceuticals.
So maybe she's like at conflict too.
And we had the conversation and what she said was, people make their choices. People choose to eat this way. They want to eat this American diet, and then when they don't feel good, they don't want to change their habits. They want a quick fix.
I think people don't know that they're addicted, and
I mean, look.
I really do.
I feel you. Go ahead.
I think people don't, like you said before, like people don't know what they don't know.
Right.
Like me and my mentor were talking about this. Like if I was to be like, eat healthy, and this was me too. Before I did my 21-day fast. Mm-hmm. It was like no sugar, no oil, no fried foods. Like the first day I was eating cucumbers and almonds. I had no idea what to eat.
Right.
So I feel like some people don't cause some people think a healthy food is like a grain bar that they see at the store that has so much
26 grams of sugar, right?
Like 1% grain. You know what I'm saying? So people, how would they know?
No, you're right. I think you're 100% right about that.
We do have a responsibility
but you do have a responsibility
to find out.
Right.
Because, well, let me say this too. You don't have to be sick. I don't know if anybody knows that. Being sick is not, you don't have to be sick.
Right.
You don't have to, things don't run in your family. Epigenetics, like there's a guy that he did a study on epigenetics.
Yep.
And he showed that cells change based on different environments. And what we know about the mind is an overrider. So if you tell yourself, this runs in my family, everything in your body is going to confirm that. So you're going to manifest whatever that is. Right. So don't tell yourself, don't even say like I'm sick. If you are, say I'm healing. Mm-hmm. You can manifest, I believe you can manifest anything away. You know, so
I agree 100%, and I'm a spoken word artist. I wholeheartedly believe in the power of spoken word.
Absolutely.
You speak things into existence.
Every single text says that.
Really?
Every spiritual text.
Yeah, I got you.
So it doesn't matter what religion you are. Power of the tongue.
Right.
Texts talk about the same thing. And I used to like say stuff intuitively from like divine downloads, and I would find the facts after.
There you go,
like,
divine download.
Isn't the first thing is like with the law of mentalism that you create with your thoughts. Okay. You create the universe with your thoughts.
I like
That's
that.
what people talk about the law of attraction. This is ancient text.
That's what I'm about to touch into. So I mentioned I don't know if you was recording to, but my main school of study has been from the Meta. You know what I'm saying? And one of the things that they teach you is that number one, you are connected. That epigenetic. You know, we're starting to understand epigenetics, but they put a word on it. Before we put a word on it, we knew that our genetic code, inside of our genetic code is the information and understanding that came from our ancestors.
Absolutely.
That's why there is a connection between you and infinite knowledge.
Yes.
Infinite knowledge, because your DNA and your genetics dates back all the way back to the beginning of time.
Yes.
So when you start talking about the ancient understanding of education, what education really means is to bring out. To educate is to educate. It's the way they pronounce it, but it means to bring out information.
Okay.
Things that are already knowing. So what it is you create a space, an environment that brings your inner knowledge to the outer forefront.
Yes.
And then what you do with your knowledge is create, and then when you have offspring, it just keep passing on and passing along.
Yeah.
Right now, what we live in is a place where they take information and they put it on you. They tell you, this is it. This is it. This is how it is. It's not really education.
Or you just see it.
Yeah, it reinforces
and seeing is
around
believing, you know? Like, they can show you, like, you see everybody's happy on social media. Everybody, it's like,
oh, man.
It's subconsciously showing you what to, like, aspire to.
Right. This is what happiness looks like.
Yes.
It's
go get the car. Go do this. And it's like, then you find out, like, those people are not really happy. You know, they're successful in the material world, but they're not successful within themselves. Like, so...
And then that goes back to that being at peace. You know what I mean? One thing I did want to touch on about the you mentioned about the livid. A lot of American culture, we kill our food in mass numbers, and so a lot of the meat that we are eating is there's a lot of terror and fright and scared.
Yes.
The animals that are being slaughtered have feelings and emotions, and that whenever you get scared, there's a shot of adrenaline to shock. Well, for us, I'm not sure what is the hormones that shoot out, but animals feel the same way. When they're about to die or they know that death is coming, there's something that's injected out of their bodies because of fear. And then when you eat that meat, you're literally eating that fear. And if you correlate that to our culture, we live in a fear-based culture. We do things in a preventative way. Oh, I do this so I don't have to do it. I do this so this won't happen because I don't want this to happen. Things like that. And equating that to the diet, back up to not for Americans, the diet. A lot of Americans have this eating burgers, eating fries, eating all this stuff, and they don't know. But it's been passed down from their genetics over and over that this is what they're supposed to eat. And if I don't know if and this is another thing about being around American culture and European culture, it's like they carry their flag high. Like if it's American, it's American. The hot dog, the burger, it's all American. And so they start to reinforce that. And as you grow up, if you don't have your proper identity, if you don't have anything to relate back to,
right.
you'll start to assume, okay, well, this is what it is. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And I want to say too, like the diet came from slavery, right? Like I forgot where I read it, but it was like they had to make do of like the scraps, right?
They do was the chitlins,
right?
They do was the leftovers.
And what do black people do? Create lemonade out of lemons. But something I want to say about American culture, because there is a beauty in it, right? Like polarity.
Tell me. I need to find it. Say no.
With black people, melanated people, wherever there's good, there's like so. We have this like, man, the way we like celebrate, like just stuff that only black people do. The way we create, all the fashion that came from like, a lot of black Americans, black people in America with the air raid, like with creating. It's like the ability to create. You know what I'm saying? Like there's some things that it's just like only black. It's so inherent to black people. And I feel like if I was outside looking, I'd be like, damn, like I want to be in that. Man. We just are, and that's where that can never be stripped because that's just in our DNA, in our blood. We're all like the world follows after. Right. So it's not like, but we do have to talk about the downside. But I think black Americans have made beautiful things out of a very bad situation.
You're right.
I do fear for the youth that are being, especially in the hood, that are being influenced. That these celebrities are their gods. Yeah. That the social media, the younger generation, is terrible.
Yeah,
I fear for that.
What's scary about it is the previous generations, they had their celebrities, but they would see them only when they were in their artistry. They would just, I heard the song. But now because of social media, we see all day, every day lifestyle from day we're surrounded by it. So now there's more of it for us to emulate. Where it's like before, if I saw, if I was a fan of, say I was growing up and I was a fan of Sam Cooke. I saw Sam Cooke whenever he performed. I heard him on the radio. Right. But I wasn't in Sam Cooke life. I wasn't modeling my life after Sam Cooke. No. I wasn't modeling my, you know what I mean?
You were doing after people you saw in your community, the positive influences. And so many kids now have are struggling with suicide. And honestly, right now, I'm not even on my social media because it affects me too. Right. And that's the thing. This is really a liberty. Mental health, you have to do it every day. You have to fight for it. Because we are influenced by new things every single day. We're still dealing with trauma. We're still healing. So something can trigger us. So that's why meditation is so important. That's why journaling. It's wake up every day like it's the first day again. Like you knew nothing yesterday. And whatever you've been taught, those practices, do it. It's like a vitamin, right? Sometimes people use it as a medicine. It's like, if I get sick, let me get my, but it's no.
Just every day.
If you don't do it, at least you're going to find yourself in that place. So it's like you have to remind yourself every day. No, even in a small way, even with just gratitude. Thank you. I was watching something about North Korea yesterday. Terrifying. I didn't want to complain about anything. I felt bad for ever complaining. Terrifying.
I think there's a difference between complaining, because sometimes people don't want to speak about things because they get tagged with that whole victim mentality. But I kind of draw a real line. There's a difference between complaining and being the victim and then stating the facts.
True.
Because if I tell you it's hot, I'm not complaining about the heat.
Yeah.
I'm telling you it's hot based off of the degrees. No, it's 98 degrees.
And just because something is worse doesn't mean something isn't still bad.
I like that.
And that's how I rationalize it. Yeah. I was like, and that's the thing. To everybody, we're all different. What may affect you may not. What may affect me may not. My 86-year-old grandma, me getting something for her to sew may be the biggest problem for her. And I have to honor that. I can't be like, there's people dying. No, to her, that's her, because that's all she does all day. To a 5-year-old, what happened at school, that's the biggest problem in their world. So we have to respect that. But just watching that, it just reminded me to give thanks. Because I do it, but we're all really lucky. The only oppression we have is like the oppression of our mental. You know?
Yeah, that's the hardest
what
one.
they oppress us mentally.
Yeah.
But that's bullshit. Sorry. Because we can really do anything and everything. So that's why like I'm so big on dismantling those beliefs and reprogramming your brain.
I feel like you have to have in this time day and age, you have to have a spiritual, a spiritual kind of like I don't want to say, just like a
belief.
Yeah, but it's like you have to be grounded in your spirit. You know what I mean? It has to be your grounding. You have to know that this world is not the end all be all. It's the spirit. Because the reason why I say that is because one thing that I've been able to do, and I want to ask you about this too. One thing that I've been able to do for myself is I stop myself from saying bad things about myself. Like, and you can even ask my partner. Like, I'll be like, stop. Like, you'll just stop.
Yo, can I tell you?
And I'll stop myself like, yo, yeah.
I read a book. I'm going to cut you off. That's so funny. Because I read a book, and it was like to stop yourself from like negative overthinking. Just say your name. So I've been doing that lately.
Really?
And I've been like, say Mayeni.
Right.
I'm sounding crazy. Like, I be sounding wild. I've been doing it so much lately. I be like, man, and I be like, damn, girl. Like it's like you're telling yourself, like, chill, stop, don't. You doing that thing where you like doing that. So I feel you on that.
Yo, stop.
Don't do that.
Okay.
Sorry, universe. I didn't mean that.
Right.
Whatever you say, it will come. Ask and you shall receive. Your tongue is powerful. It's so the sword.
And it's like your body is listening to you, right?
It is.
So when I and there's a couple different things and I'm gonna be honest, man, I've never really, not to kind of big, I've never really read it anywhere. Just something that the Most High put me onto. It's like, yo, stop, right? So what I do is, if there is a thought that I have that's like you stop myself from doing it, and if I can't stop myself from doing it, I have a number.
Really?
Yeah, it's a number. So 0 is baseline.
Wow.
And the further away from I get from it is the higher the number. So if I'm having a bad thought, I'll be like 24. You know what I'm saying? And then I'll start thinking about 24 and I'll stop thinking about that negative thing.
That's dope.
And if it's like 6, it's like it was bad, it wasn't too bad. It was like 56. That's like okay.
You tripping.
Focus,
Like, being air signs, though, we be in our head.
Oh yeah.
Especially that overthinking thing. Man, I've overthought stuff that wouldn't even come true.
Doesn't even need, but that happens to all of us.
Thinking like, damn, he's with her.
24. You know what I mean?
11. Nah, but for real, like.
I mean, that's a big thing, and what I see is because we was talking about mental health, and I want to get to some of the ways that you kind of affirm yourself.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I noticed is that when we start talking about demons. Instead of people that we have demons. Yeah. I've classified demons, right? I've classified demons into 3 things. I wrote this in the book too. Fears.
This your book?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
shameless plug.
Oh,
spiritual warfare.
Yeah.
Inspiration Nation on Amazon. Go grab, or you just email me. But anyway.
Right. You like this conversation? Check out the book.
Oh yeah. You know what I'm saying? I'll give you a copy. I'll give you a copy when it's done. But one of the biggest things about you, I have to be able to, and this with me, I have to be able to visualize it in order to actualize on it. So when we start talking about demons, instead of visualizing demons, what I classify demons are is fears, doubts, and insecurities.
Absolutely.
Everything that we do that when we operate outside of our integrity is caused because either it's a fear, a doubt we have, or an insecurity we have.
Absolutely.
And those things, I've been able to really pinpoint what my fears are, what would cause me to have self-doubt, and what I may or may not be insecure about. And then you got to really treat it like, you at war. This is spiritual warfare. You know what I mean? And your greatest weapon is going to be your heart and your mind.
Damn.
And your spirit.
Damn.
You know what I mean? Faith and patience is the motto, but man.
And you are so right. We
That's funny.
forget that we are under attack.
Mm-hmm.
Wherever there's good, there's evil. So if you're trying to do good, you know, them ill is coming for you.
Right.
But if you're able to identify them and use consciousness, you could be like, that. You know, it sounds funny, like, stop shit, but it's like, nah, you really can stop them, like the Matrix.
Like the Matrix, yes.
Right? You know what I'm saying? And like demons, someone told me before, they explained it like lower vibrational entities. Mm-hmm. Shame, guilt, and fear, those are some of the lowest things you could feel. They cause you to act in different ways. And there is nothing new under the sun. Right. Whatever you are going through, there is somebody else going through it. So reach out, find support. You know what I'm saying? I think that's where shame comes from. Like, we just internalize the freedom to just express. Right. You breathe. So if you were to if your legs were to get chopped up right now, you would go to a doctor. If you're mentally not feeling well, you have to talk to somebody. Right. There's people that can help you. There's so many beautiful spiritual coaches. You know, we need that. I manifested one. She's like amazing. Like, I just met her, but you know, soul connections, you feel like you know them forever. Yeah, I just met her, and like, I feel like I'm looking at what I would want to be like 20 years down the line. I just Googled her. That's that divine alignment. You know, I just Googled wellness center because I wanted to work at one because I wanted to be surrounded. In that space, yeah. And I called her, and she was like, "Oh, you know, I don't have it, but hey, if you help me with my social media, I could provide mentorship." Water. And like, bartering. You have to. Why not? It's cooperation. Find something that you love to do and offer it in exchange. People need your services. Right. And they get better, and then you can get paid for it. If you like to do something, you'll do it more, and you'll get better at it, and you create a demand for it, and now you're valuable. People pay for value. So, but I was just like, it's just so important to like surround yourself with that. Just be aligned. Yeah. So like, when people come to attack, you have a strong, you have an army. Foundation. There you go, that army behind you. Yeah, and you know when something don't. You know when somebody. You know. Yeah. You know when somebody's just, it don't. Spiritual inclination. Feel right. Right. You don't, and that's we're like full circle in the beginning with being a Gemini. I don't have problems cutting people off like that because I have to protect my peace. Right. I have to protect my energy. Some people are so nice, they will suffer just to not hurt your feelings. So they will stay with something that's killing them. Yeah. If you don't love yourself, can you really? That's deep. I'm trying to see how I had it reflected in my life over the years, or even right now. You know. Yeah. I mean, one of the biggest things I know for me, you know, I spent a lot of time in isolation, and so when I did move down here, and it was definitely divine moving down here because I actually asked the Most High, like, "Yo, where do you want me to go?" And he was like, "Yo, I'm coming to Atlanta." Within the first week of being in Atlanta, I met brothers that we still work together to this day. And, you know, we say it, but when you do it, when you feel it, when you find your tribe, it's a very empowering thing. Because at that moment, it almost allows you to power up because you even believe in yourself more because it's reinforced. Absolutely. Whereas before, you have to fight the world just to believe in yourself. Yes. And so a lot of your energy goes into fighting the world just to fight for yourself. Yes. But when you got people around you that reinforce it, it's like, man, them demons fall to the wayside. Yeah. I'm no longer insecure about, you know, just my beliefs. I'm no longer insecure about my... Matter of fact, the biggest thing for me was, I'm going to say no. I ain't going to do it. Like, that rebel in me, the best thing I ever did, I said, nah, I'm not doing it. And when I was younger, I took the hits that came with that. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, you can ask my mother. She'll tell you. Like, there was a period of time where I wasn't receiving any mail. Like, cut this in the mail. Nah, ain't for me. I ain't even here. This ain't, nope. They got my name on it? Nah, that ain't even me. Nope. So it was like, yo, matter of fact, it was over to a point. I remember, I went to the third. I had a park. I had speeding tickets.
I had speeding tickets, and the speeding ticket would come in the mail. I'm like, nope, that ain't for me.
Yeah.
Nope. You say, yo, you could pull me over if you want to, but that's about how far you know what I mean. But it was just that rebellious spirit to fight against everything that you didn't believe. And when I realized as I got older, it was really a fight for, like, I just was fighting for me. You know what I mean? I was fighting to be. Yeah. And when you start surrounding yourself with other people, it's like that's not the fight anymore, because now I'm fighting to be for y'all. Like I need to be something for the community. I need to be something for others so others can be something for me. I need that camaraderie. I need that, all hands on deck communal environment. We're all building towards a greater good. Right. Where before it wasn't me building with other people the greater good. It was me literally fighting demons so I could exist. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so I only bring that up when you're talking about the affirmations and being able to affirm yourself. What's some of the things that you affirm in yourself, or you tell other people to affirm in them, or teach other people to affirm in themselves?
One big thing is like, I'm safe. Because it's like now I'm chill. If you would have really talked to me like a year ago, it would have been different, because I was going through it like spiritually. And it's just like you feel anxious because you don't have confirmation. Like God's asking you to move, and you're on shaky ground because you don't have confirmation, right? It's that stage, kind of like what you were going through. So I just didn't feel safe. So like I love to tell myself I'm safe, like I am, and I'm powerful. Like, here's the thing, like, and you have wrote on the list toxic masculinity, and I don't know if you wrote toxic. You probably just wrote masculinity.
Saying that it meant masculine.
But
I got it.
Here's the thing. No, I think you said masculine and feminine.
You're right, energies.
But like the problem with I'm gonna circle back. But the problem with toxic masculinity.
Okay, I said womanhood and manhood. That's
okay.
What we're talking about. Yeah.
But the problem with toxicness, right, is like, I'm a man. Okay. Why do you have to? Yeah, you are. Right? So there's some stuff that's just annoying. It was actually like a guy, like I met 2 years ago. He actually changed my life, but he actually was like, he kept telling me like, you're powerful. And at that time I didn't see it. You know what I mean? So I was like, what?
What was he saying to me?
Yeah, I really wasn't in that space. So now I don't say things like I'm powerful. It's like, yo, as a melanated person that's in here, I don't have to say that. But I do remind myself I'm safe. I'm grateful.
I'll say I wanna mention one thing. I'm gonna fly around you. You got it.
Oh, no. Butterfly.
One thing and most actually
yeah.
So I do want to touch the toxic masculinity thing. So, I mean, since it came up. Yeah. I ain't bring it up. But and me and my brothers feel strongly about this. Toxic masculinity is the absence of masculinity, because the masculine man doesn't have to be masculine. You know what I mean? That's what you're saying. Like, I'm man. You know what I'm saying? Nah, that's not. And then the thing is it's terrible, because once media gets a hold of things and it takes away the sanctity of it, honestly. It takes away from the understanding.
Like, that plate is low vibration.
Yeah, like, you know what I'm saying? Because, man, listen, okay, let's talk about it.
Right, how much time we got?
It's till the camera stop running. Till the camera stop running.
We could, yeah.
But this family business. Because that's a big thing. And for me, I am blessed.
Yeah.
And I'm fortunate to have both my parents, and my father was a great man. And he raised me well. One of the things is that, he was quiet. He just, what I saw in him and connects to my understanding of what it is to be a man. And I will fight tooth and nail with anybody. Is your sense of responsibility. What makes you a man is your sense of responsibility. And when I say responsibility, I mean literally your ability to respond. What makes you a man is your ability to respond to the natural pressures of life, right. Whether it be finance, whether it be women, whether it be conflict, whether it be confusion, whether it be anything. How do you respond to those pressures?
Right.
A boy is going to respond a certain type of way.
Absolutely.
when my little nephew, you know what I'm saying, he was talking and nobody was listening to him, and he get frustrated, he get angry because he's a boy, he's a child.
Right.
As a man,
right.
you got to be able to respond in an efficient way to
right.
get whatever accomplished you need to get accomplished.
Yeah.
And the reason why I say that is because the man, the divine masculine, is about cultivating a space for provision and protection, so that the woman, the feminine, can excel in her natural gift of nurturing, growing, caring, things like that. But here's the thing though. If you're a toxic masculine,
yes,
you're going to combat with anything that is threatening your masculinity. Whereas if you're a masculine person, I already know the masculine me and the masculine in me is not under threat. I could, people like, you're comfortable with your feminine side. A lot of men feel like they can't express themselves.
So you don't struggle with that, like
in terms of expressing myself, or what?
With like.
Now I ain't gonna say I'm perfect. You know what I'm saying? I know what I know, but
I'm just wondering. It's family business. Like
No. So I'll answer it.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just thinking like, do you feel like you've gotten close to like mastering that as far as like?
I will say this, right?
Yeah.
There was a period in time because I always longed for older brothers. Mm-hmm. Because my father was a person who showed by example, but he didn't talk much. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so there was a period of time where I had to find myself. Mm-hmm. And when I was in high school, going to college, you hang around the guys, but then you get older, and I was always more mature for my age. And so I started seeing things like, that's not cool. You know what I mean? And like, it's actually really irresponsible. You know what I mean? And it's like, oh, no, I don't even want to be like that. Mm-hmm. And then, for me, I started to see what European culture was putting on me as what it is to be a man. What it is to be, and I didn't agree with it at all. As a matter of fact, I'm like, nah, I don't want to be nothing like that. So there was a period of time where I had to redefine myself. And in that, I started to see traits in myself. You know what I mean? This was a process. It was not overnight. Definitely a process, because there was definitely times where I was like, yo, what is it to be a man? You know what I mean? Especially when you don't, like, I was a minimalist and I was nomad. You know what I'm saying? I used to bounce around. You know what I mean? I had a book bag. I used to sleep in the bus stop. I used to, you know what I'm saying? I was bouncing around from family. I used to do the whole, you know what I'm saying? F the world, I'm you know what I mean, on my path. Wow. And so when you don't have resources, when you don't have finances, when you don't have a woman to reinforce your manhood, when you don't have these things, and you really have to identify yourself with spirit. Right. That's the only grounding I had. Right. Was I knew that the Most High was with me. That's what kept me, from going off the deep end. So within that, I started to see the things that the spirit complemented, and then I started to see the things that didn't sit right with my spirit. So for instance, like, one thing and I'll say this to anybody, any man, anytime. Now, I ain't gonna down you, I ain't gonna bash you, but I'm gonna tell you the truth. Okay. If you're looking at a man and if you're looking at a man of like to be a boyfriend, or look how he spends his free time. If you're with a person who spends hours and hours playing video games, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not knocking you, but I am knocking you. If you see a person that spends hours and hours on video games, or hours and hours on things like that, nah. Yeah. Because the one of the tests of a man, one of the testaments of a man, is the things that what he does with his free time and what he produces. Because men are much more acclimated to the physicality of life, where women are much more acclimated to the spirituality of life. That's why women are such more nurturing and caring and feelings, and they intuitive. Where the man is, okay, move this, move. It's not that it's better or worse, because you need both. But the man has to be able to look at the world and have something that he can go and then build and cultivate. But if you're a guy who doesn't see any, I'm not doing nothing. You don't want to better yourself. You don't want to. You don't want to provide for anybody. You don't want to. You know what I'm saying? Right. You got to see with that person's, like, kind of what their drive is in life. And so one thing that I realized is, and this is just talking with the Most High, yo, you gotta go ahead and figure out what you're gonna do with your free time. Right. You know what I'm saying? When you don't have any, and people talk about like integrity. Integrity is the things you do when no one's watching.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's a lot of it being a man.
Yeah, and confidence. I say the same thing about confidence.
Tell me about it. Tell me about it.
I mean, there's stuff.
No. I mean, look, you know what I'm saying? We here. But I will say this, though.
Yeah.
Confidence, I would say confidence is neither masculine nor feminine.
Yeah.
Because a confident woman is as powerful as she wants to be. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? As whatever she has built herself to be in that confidence, she can, but that's the same thing for a man, but they might look differently. A confident man and a confident woman, you'll know they're confident, but they might not do the same things, you know what I mean?
No, but I was just saying confident. And by the way, no.
I don't know. I know my brother said, my brother told me that time, he said, your confidence, my brother said to me, like, your confidence is like a superpower. And I never thought about it like that. You know what I mean? But, yeah.
No, but I like, so confidence is what you do when no one's looking. Like, just like integrity.
Gotcha. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
like
I got the
if
connection.
before you go play a game, or let's say you're a basketball player or whatever, you're going to be confident stepping on the field because you practiced all those hours, right? You put the hours in. If you know you're reading in your free time, that you're nurturing yourself, you're showing yourself love, you're caring, you know what I'm saying? You're going to go out into the world different.
Right.
That's confidence. Yeah. But, so, I want to go back to the man and woman. Because I feel like that can sometimes cause strife in relationship. Because what a man has to worry about and what a woman has to worry about is completely different. Right. And we want certain things. And you guys provide, but sometimes it's hard for men to step out of that mold.
Right.
And come down to what the woman's saying she's needing. And that's the toxic masculinity. If you feel like just because you're providing, that's the only thing you have to provide.
Nah, yeah, I hate it.
You know what I mean? Like, the woman came home, did you ask her, like, did you sit down for like 5 minutes, give her your attention? How are you? This woman that all day she's thinking about you. She's probably thinking about you guys, how to make you guys better. She's thinking about you. I guarantee you she's thinking about you a lot. I'm not saying just because she's a woman, but that's, you know, you love somebody. Right. So when you come home, do you give her, I know that you're protecting. So you may feel, I just worked all them hours. I did what I had to do. But you guys came as a union. You know, and I feel like that's sometimes where a lot of things can cause that. But
this is what I say, right? Because I definitely have a strong opinion about this. And I feel as though once you have to make a level of commitment to the person.
Yes.
Now, when you make that level of commitment to that person, what are you committing to? That is something that you must be clear about in yourself.
Right.
And then you have to uphold that commitment.
Right.
But I don't believe it's a cookie cutter situation.
No.
You know what I mean? Because the things that, and I'm gonna be honest with you, just the truth of it. A lot of the relationships that we have right now are not built off of the principles that will sustain healthy relationships. We build relationships now, I honestly feel, because of a lack of insecurity. A lot of people need validation. They need to be with someone. They want to have someone that look good next to them. They want the things. It's built off of, but when you make a commitment to a person, that commitment, and I'll speak about it because I have my mother and my father, what I saw.
Right.
What I saw wasn't Disney representation of the romantic European love. What I saw was two individuals that made a commitment to each other. And in that commitment to each other, I'm going to check on your well-being. I honestly feel like the most important thing a man can provide for a woman is peace of mind. That's just before.
Well, y'all ain't doing that.
I mean, listen, y'all, you know what I'm saying? Like, I can't speak for everybody, you know what I'm saying? But what I can say...
No, but I don't even think that, though.
You don't think so?
You know, this is back to I think you're responsible for your own peace of mind. I get what you're saying,
right. I get you.
If I had like a Mayeniism, it'd be like self.
Right.
Because I really feel like when everything fails, like you said, all you got is yourself. Yes, you can help
Right,
with
right.
my peace, but you are not my peace of mind.
So
That's
so let me
people
change
that
my
may have
thoughts.
thought that, not to you, but people that may have perceived like, because people think that be my peace.
No. But that's not that, and that's why I want to change my words, because that's not what I'm saying.
I know.
That's not. I'm not saying I gotta be, because I don't believe that I'm responsible to make you happy.
No.
I'm not supposed to like make you feel. I'm not supposed to make you feel anything.
Right. But you, as a man, you honor your commitment.
Right. In my commitment.
When you honor your commitment, you're honoring yourself. It's not about me.
Right.
If I make a commitment to not eat something for 21 days, and I go eat meat, I'm not cheating on the meat. I'm cheating on myself because I made that commitment.
I like that.
You know what I'm saying? So
you.
that's what I expect for you. And if you can't do that, cool.
Right.
You know.
So when I say I'm not saying I gotta be your piece.
Right.
And I'm not here running around trying to make sure
love
is everything
that,
good. Is it? I mean,
if I can expect that, I would love. Like, if
I feel like you gotta be your own
It'd be
piece.
easier. Right? If someone could just be my piece,
yeah,
I gotta do nothing. I don't have to work. I don't have to write, journal, work on myself.
But that's not how spirit works.
Go ahead. I'm gonna let you finish on that thought though. So like you said that be her piece. What is that? I'm gonna let you finish.
I'm gonna get back to it. I'm gonna let you. It's creeping up. It's creeping up.
What he said?
He said, I'm gonna let you finish. But Beyonce had the best. We gonna get to
the best spiritual book. Amazon, check it out. But I'm gonna let y'all finish though. But go ahead.
So when I say that, right, and I want to like correct, make sure I'm not misunderstood, because I don't feel like I'm supposed to be anybody's peace, but I need to be at peace with myself so that you can have peace of mind around me.
Yes.
Because the thing is, when I say provide peace of mind, if I'm chaotic. If I'm running around, don't know what I'm doing, if I'm fighting demons daily, there's no way that you can be at peace. Right. And so it's about, and one of the principles of divine masculinity is cultivating a space where, and so when I say my commitment to you, my commitment isn't to, okay, I'm going to do this for you and do this and do this. No, but everything that I am in my I have to take in consideration you. I have to take into consideration because I made a commitment to you. If I'm going to be say I got this crazy drive, right? And I struggle with this because I do have a crazy drive. I need to be able to, and I made a commitment to you. Right. I need to be able to still consider you in my crazy drive.
I see that though.
You know what I mean?
I see you have. And I heard somebody say this on a podcast. They was like, you can never be a man's first priority, and you shouldn't.
His mission.
They said it should be his first. And it's like you have this like, this is like literally coming off you because like
me,
seriously, because you're so purpose of like you know, right? I'm not going to say what you know, but you know, and with that knowing comes a lot. You know what I mean? It could drive you. It could even like threaten to drive you mad because to know so much. That's why they say ignorance is bliss. Right. But that's why like it's yours. You have to stay. You have to like do those things to keep yourself
grounded.
I was gonna say something else too, but I forgot. Damn.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's not your fault. I just said something different because it came to me.
I got you. Well, it'll come back.
Oh no, I want to make it clear too. Like everything I talk about now, I was not always like this. Yeah, if I could put like everything into somebody, right? Like I'm a very like passionate person, so I would in the past, maybe a couple years ago, made some of my happiness.
Right.
Because I wasn't really I didn't have like what I have now, so I would have did that.
No, that's that go. You can still go.
I would have put it all on somebody. Like I want to be with you all day, like you, and then if it goes away, that's why I had to become this way because I'm so sensitive. Right. So even now I struggle with a lot. I struggle with a lot because of my sensitivity, and it's something I have to like actively work on. I don't want to form a relationship because I know that what can happen. So I'm only saying this, like how Lauren said, don't think Lauren ain't human. Don't think I'm not saying this as like I'm saying this as like these are things I had to learn, and when you learn, you teach. You attempt to. So just find that within yourself, and then come together. Like you should be a light, they're a light, and it's like you guys shine brighter together.
Right. I use that the match. When you light one match, other match, and they go around a bigger flame.
A bigger match.
And to what you were saying, and I definitely gotta preface it because you say, oh, you know, and the confidence.
Yeah.
The only reason why I'm so confident in the things that I know is because of the things that I've been through that have taught me these things. And they've taught me in a way, and I've taken, I've taken my bumps in life, and I've always taken them by myself. Okay. And by myself in the physical, because Most High was there with me throughout the whole thing. You know what I mean? But that was what I understood he was teaching me. Because I was in that relationship where I made the person my everything. I was the lover boy who thought that, okay, I have to do this and do this and do this. Right. And it don't matter how I feel. You know what I mean? I have to do this and do this and do this because that's what it means to be, you know what I mean? And then when you start and, you go through this, but when you start pouring and then the person leaves and you're left with an empty cup, you feel demoralized. Like, yo, what did I do wrong?
I've done that to somebody.
You know what I'm saying? This is the thing, though.
That happens, yeah.
If it happened to me and I did it to someone, that means that's life teaching us. Yeah. We have to go through that. That's why I really learned, like, yo, every single one of my scars has purpose. So if I scarred somebody, it's number one, I know my heart, so it was never malicious. It was never intentional. Right. It was me. Maybe one. Things happen for a reason, you know what I mean? And I know I was like 25 when I realized, I was probably like 27. 27 when I started looking at my past relationships and I could pinpoint everything that my past relationships taught me. Yeah. And then I remember I was dating this girl and I learned, and in my head I was like, wow, I just learned this about myself from this. And shortly after, the relationship was over. Wow. And so I'm a firm believer that you're supposed to meet different people because different people are going to bring different things out of you and you're going to bring different things out of them. And that's where that whole us coming together in a group experience, that communal, instead of being individual or shut off to, when you commune with other people, you grow. You're exposed to different things. Your light gets brighter.
Every time. And that's the point. Yeah. That's what we're here for. So that's why it's a mindset, it's perspective. Right. Is anything really a loss?
Right. It's just a lesson.
It's a lesson. Yeah. So I was going to ask you.
Was that one off?
The memory card was exhausted. That one did it. That one kind of, alright, I got you.
So I just have a question. What are some things that you kind of are still struggling with now? Or not, I wouldn't say struggle. Struggles are, but what things do you still have to overcome or?
I'll say this. I could see very aware of the progression in my life. Yeah. So I'm coming into a new chapter of responsibility and leadership. Okay. And for a person that I've always been a rebel. I've been a loner. I've been an outcast. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? You could ask my partner, like, there's certain things that I do for myself because I'm just so used to just taking care of myself. Gotcha. Like, I could go through anything. Like, there's no circumstance, situation I know I could get through. You know what I mean?
So maybe you have to use more of your feminine energy.
Yeah, I can see that.
Because we all have both. Right, we talked about that in the Hermetic Principles. Right. We all have both.
Hermetic Principles, I love
Seriously,
it. No, you're right.
Like, maybe we all have feminine and masculine. Like, softening it a little bit. Right. And allowing.
No, you're right.
The flow, right? Mm-hmm. Like allowing this flow. It can't be go. No, that's not all you're here for.
Man, yes, I can see that. So I'll say this, right? Yeah. I can see that. Number one, I'm always gonna be a work in progress. That Most High don't take the days off.
We all are, 100%.
So what I can see in myself is that there was a chapter in my life where I had to develop that toughness to endure through certain things. And then I could see him, you know how you make him real hard and then you bring in the sandpaper to smooth it all out. Right. I would say that right now I'm in a position where I do have to kind of like let things flow a little bit. Not really, because I do let things flow, but I was always able to let things flow because I had no attachment. I keep a healthy detachment.
That's not bad though, right?
No, I keep a healthy detachment.
Unless it becomes too much.
I believe that everyone should have a healthy detachment because if you have an attachment, you allow things to sway you in different directions. So it's not like, I was younger. I was very dismissive. You know what I'm saying? And it was a defense mechanism for the things I couldn't control and things I couldn't. All right, whatever. If I want it and I can't have it, I don't want it no more. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that led me into. But being called to do something, you can't always do that, especially when you're meant to touch people's lives and you're meant to talk to people. So I had to learn that. But then I had to make myself tougher to be able to deal with the scrutiny of being me, being a black man in America. And nobody knows what it's like to be a black man in America other than a black man. There's so many different nuances, so many different like underlying things that you probably wouldn't catch, but you know that you feel slighted and they know that they slighted you.
Right.
You know what I mean? So there's a lot of that. And then the undertone of just being here powerless as a group of people. We don't have power or control or resource and things like that. So there's a certain psyche that a black man automatically goes into. Yeah. Then it's a psyche where, you know, that has been passed down from generations where it's like, you know, do what they say, or so, you know, what you gotta do in order to get by. That's something that older generations preach. Like, yo, you gotta do this, like, nah, this is a new day. I don't have to do that. So there was a certain toughness I had to build up in myself to be able to go and face the world. Wow. Then, in order for me to interact in the world, I have to be a lot more, I don't know what the word would be, but I have to be more, like, I guess you would say, I want to say forgiving. Wow. That's the word. Wow. You know, because that wasn't the word I was going to say. That was not the word I was going to say, but you have to be more forgiving. And in that forgiving, it's not just about forgiving other people. It's forgiving yourself. It's forgiving the circumstance. It's being able to, like, move without carrying the weight of having to move. Because once you let go, we forgive, it's like, yo, that's a pathway to a peace. You know what I mean? And so for me, a lot of times, I wasn't forgiving. Yeah. I was slighted. I've been slighted. I was always the black sheep. I was always, you know what I mean, singled out for whatever it was. How I looked, how I played ball, how whatever because I was a smart kid too. You know what I'm saying? So I was always singled out in a certain type of way. And it's like, so you develop this type of, like, you know what I'm saying, me against the world type of mentality. Wow. You know what I mean? And everybody is like, I trust everybody, right? But the reason why I trust everybody is because I don't have to trust you. I knew I always knew. As a matter of fact, DMX said this. He said, trust people to be who the mentality. It's very me mentality. So then when you start to move into positions of leadership and move into people, role models and move, you have to be more forgiving. You have to be softer. You have to be more welcoming and more patient with people. But when you build that wall up as a defense mechanism, it's hard to let it down. And that's how, so to answer your question, that's where I see I'm at right now. Wow. I'm having to, like, soften out myself. And it's definitely tough.
But you made me think about something. You gave me a new perspective. Is it safe in America? Because you just said, as from a black man perspective, and I told you, you know what I'm saying? Take a relationship, and now it makes me think: is that possible right now as a black man?
And that's why I bring it up again. You have to be spiritually grounded. You have to have a spiritual inclination, because what was told to me from the Most High is I'm the only thing you're going to be able to hold on to. In this world, it's all fleeting. The people who you thought that would be there, they might not be there tomorrow. The things that you thought was going to be there, they're not going to be there tomorrow. The ideas that you think that you have, they might not. They might change tomorrow.
Do you think that your, like, father's passing had anything to do with that? Just like, I guess, like, I know, I'm so sorry.
Well, Doc. It all started, man.
Listen, this is how I've always been, and I'll tell you.
No, it's a. But I'm a very introverted person.
Because I feel very connected to my family, right? But I still have this knowing that God is like the only, you know what I mean? And I feel like someone passing can reassure that to you. Because even though I know that God is, it hasn't been reaffirmed. Right. because I still feel like either my mom or dad. So that's why I asked, do you feel like that has kind of reaffirmed that belief that if everything goes like God is the Most High, God is like really all you can cling on to in this realm? Because obviously knowing that past is gone, right? That is in this realm that we're in. So
I'll say this, and the reason why I do it, because, you know, talking about my father, it's not something I do all the time, but it's something I think about a lot. It's, you know, he was definitely my role model, my idol, my hero. And what happened was, before he passed away, I knew that me and my father, we didn't have the same ideas about how to deal with the things. You know what I mean? And it was probably age, honestly. He was probably like me when I was younger, but over years and family and having to, you know, be in the world and survive in this environment, probably did change his views. But I was a lot more like, you know, cowboy, gung-ho, like, you know what I'm saying? We going out, blazing. And he wanted me to be more just calmer. You just, you know, listen, don't go take on the whole world. You know what I mean? Even if you think you could. You know what I mean? Educate yourself about the world. And so I was always held back because I always wanted my father to agree with everything that I did because I wanted him to be proud of me. And so when he passed away, and I remember hearing his voice, and he said, don't cry for me. I lived this one to the fullest. It's your turn. And so what I believe is that his passing opened up the path for me to be who I wanted to be for myself without anyone else, you know, having to dictate who I wanted to be. Because I didn't look up to anybody. I still don't look up to, you know what I mean? There's people that, you know, are respectable, but I've never looked up to like, oh, I want to be like this guy. I want to be like, oh, this guy. You know what I mean? It was always my father. So when he passed away, it was like, green light, go be you. You know what I'm saying? And my father, just and this is something I kind of struggled with too, because he passed away sudden. I didn't get to hear that last motivational speak from him. But over the years, you know, I've been able to recollect and hear his voice in a lot of different ways. And this is what's been revealed to me, is like, no, it's your turn. You know what I mean? Go be you. And so when he passed away, and it wasn't right away, but over time I realized, like, I used to want to be like my father. Now I want to be like me. You know what I mean? And it's always a big thing, like my family, because my father was the patriarch. He was you know what I mean? My sisters would be like, you know, you remind me of dad. You remind me of your father so much. My mother, you remind me of your father so much. And for a while, it was like, yeah, that's nice. And now it's like, that's cool, but I'm not him. I don't want to be like him.
You have a whole different purpose here.
I am me because of him, but I'm not him. And I don't even, and my goal is to be me. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like that separation was a liberating thing, because I was no longer held back by my own kind of like the ridicule or scrutiny of, you know, am I going to be good enough, or am I going to be smart enough, or am I going to be, you know what I mean, impactful enough? Because my father was a really impactful man. You know what I mean? So that's what I say my father's passing did for me.
So what is your mission?
Liberation, world domination. It's like, nah, seriously, the mission.
What are you doing this for?
The mission is simple. I mean, I could break it down in a couple different ways. I'll do it kind of like ethereally. So there was a vision that was given to me, and there's a house that has to be built, and I'm building the house. I'm building a house with my business. I'm building a house with my spoken word. I'm building a house with the family business. If you meet me, you don't even have to really meet me, but you're going to know my politics. You're going to know how I feel. You're going to know I don't hide it. And that's me nailing in every single nail. I'm going to build a house based off of my beliefs, my understanding, my guidance, my intuition, my inclination. It's going to be built. And then around it, everything else is burning. Everything else is burning. And it was told to me that for my children, for my people,
Yeah.
the house gonna be the only thing left standing. So in a very, metaphorical way, my job, my duty is to build a house. Now, how that looks like in real life, you have to be able to, the real flex, and I like this saying, the real flex is how many people's lives you can impact positively.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be.
Right.
The mission was, the purpose, as told to me by the Most High, was to live free in the spirit.
Mm-hmm.
Live free in the spirit.
Right.
And what that looks like to me, it's like, trust your wings.
Mm-hmm.
Go do whatever you are inclined to do, and I'm gonna bless it. And what I want to do is build something based off of truth. Build something. It doesn't have to always be pretty. It doesn't have to be because life isn't like that.
Yeah.
We get so caught up into the presentation of life, or
right.
It has to be this way, it has to be that way.
Right.
Like, no, that's never how it is. Some of the most beautiful things came up because of the rock grew this way and the rock grew this way, and now you got this beautiful mountain.
Right.
Gorgeous, but it all came out of chaos. And so my mission is to build this house built on truth, built off honor, built off of integrity, built off of knowing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Knowing. See, people like, yo, do you believe in God? And I'm insulted. Believe in God? You mean like Santa Claus? You mean like the Tooth Fairy? Do I believe in God? And then one brother of mine, he said it, and he said it so eloquent. He said, brother, I know God. As if I had a relationship. And just that switch of the mind. Do you believe in God or do you know God? Because I know God. I know the Most High, and I know how he treats me and how he talks to me.
Wow.
So I gotta do everything in my life that reflects that conversation I have with him. You know what I mean? So people like, yo, I don't take dates, and you know what's so funny, because I ain't even trying to act like, I still do my, you know what I'm saying? I'm still me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm still going, see, I'm gonna watch my Giants play. You know what I'm saying? I've been playing football since day one, so I'm gonna watch my Giants play. Now, am I invested in the NFL? Am I buying jerseys? Nah, I'm not doing that, because I know that everything in this world is fleeting. You know what I mean? But I'm surrounded by men who have the same motivation, same goal. So it empowers me. Like, yo, we just did this documentary for this couple for P4R, Plantation for Reparation. And it's like, they're like, man, how could we pay you? We brought all this equipment out there, and how could we was trying to get videographers to come out here, and they was charging us this, that, and the third. Charge you? You know what you're doing? It's an honor to put a camera in front of you so you could tell the world. Because I gotta do that. I gotta do that, not because you paid me, but because my ancestors want this out there.
Wow.
You know what I mean? That's a duty. That's a duty and a responsibility. So that's what I would say my mission is.
And I think just you being you is purposeful. Just you showing up in the world like that.
Feel you.
Because sometimes it just is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like someone's going to see you and and they're going to see you interact and it's going to, so like your duty is to be you. But that's beautiful, and I felt the passion. No doubt. I appreciate that. I feel the passion.
You brought it out, for real. Because I'm like, you asked me about my pops. I said,
well, yeah.
You talking family business,
you brought it up. I wouldn't usually, honestly, and that's the thing, like outside of this, nah, I'm not asking them. You know what I'm saying? I felt safe to ask, and also, I don't know.
Well, I appreciate it.
People will watch this and also
so what's your
find
mission?
themselves in there.
What's your mission?
My mission.
The tables are now turned.
My mission, I'm a healer. Like, this is like just how I'm talking to you right now. Mm-hmm. That's who I am. That's who I am. I don't believe I don't want to see anybody struggle or suffer. I don't believe in suffering. So that's my mission, is to like alleviate people from suffering. And that's through teaching. Like, and that's if I gotta sacrifice myself, you know what I'm saying? And that's God. That's what God gave me. And I'm so thankful. Because everybody deserves, it's your birthright to be abundant, joyful.
Right.
We're not supposed to suffer.
God, that's real.
Not. And it's like, okay, what are the tools, right? It's through food, through mind, through alignment, through association. Those are the tools in which I teach. So this, I'm going through I'm going to go through like a fast, like that. I wanted to do so much, but I got instruction chill.
Take your time.
Take your time. Like, I need to go through my own fast. I mean, you know, it's so hard because I want to.
Right, I get you.
But now that I chill, it's like I already know what I'm going to do. Before, it was like, I know this is who I am. How am I going to get paid for it? Because as a spiritual person, and I left corporate 2 years ago, whatever, you have to find, it's like you fend for yourself in the economic world, right? So it's like, you have to have these beliefs. You have to have this relationship with money. And sometimes the thing comes when you're not chasing it.
Yeah.
I know what I'm going to do is going to give me that, but that's not even what I'm doing it for.
Right. No, when you said chase it, and I saw someone else said this, and it really resonated with me. But it's like when you start chasing things, you're implying that it's running away from you.
Facts.
But when you attract, that's what your purpose is. You're gonna have to create the space.
Right.
And I speak with, I want to jump subjects. So we attract. Reason why I'm about to jump subjects because when we talk about like love, I've heard always people they want to find love. They want to find love. They want to fall in love. I'm like, now you don't know love. If you want to find love, you don't want no love. Cause be love, and then love will find you.
So
you know what I'm saying?
So
and
true.
One time, I talk about like the unicorn. And I'm like, yo, you know how you catch a unicorn? You don't.
You don't catch it.
You don't. You create a space where the unicorn wants to be. And the unicorn comes to you.
Ding, ding, ding. That's fire.
Yeah.
That's fire.
That's real though. That's real though.
I like that analogy. That's so true.
For sure. Man, this is definitely a great conversation. Man.
We hit a lot of good points, I think.
For sure. Yeah, I know we could go on forever. We always do this too. I ain't gonna hold you. Yesterday we had a brother on here, man. I'm really digging these interviews, and this has just been another great one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we just go on. You know what I'm saying? We just talk and talk. You know what I mean? About the different things, and that's the purpose of this platform. Is talk about the things that you're not gonna talk about. You know what I mean? The conversations that aren't being had.
Right.
And it's like we're not even exposed to these different conversations. You know what I mean? About and let alone like just expressing like just the truest self. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, yo, this is who I am. I learned a long time ago. It's like, yo, it's not about what you do. It's about who you are.
It's about who you are.
You know what I mean? That's gonna reign supreme. Because who you are is ultimately going to show in what you do. Man. Well, tell us about the podcast. I don't know if there's some subjects I'm missing or if anything,
No.
Tell us about the podcast.
I don't know, I guess with everything I'm just thinking. You know what I mean? Like we talked about a lot of different things, so I'm like, taking everything in.
Oh yeah.
I just feel like, follow me. Like this is like my mission. I'm not straying away from this. So follow me on Instagram, smile_pray_slay. And YouTube, you can follow me on YouTube if you just want healing resources. That's what I'm here for. I also offer life coaching. You can find that on my website, www.smileprayslay.com. Book a session with me if you're really ready. Not trying to take your money. If you're not going to do the work, don't waste our time. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't waste our time. But if you're really, really ready for transformation, if you're really ready, contact me. And that's how you do it. So I appreciate everything.
I appreciate you. Appreciate you coming out, sitting down on the
dope.
couch with us.
This was dope. Thank you to your partner for just helping and setting everything up.
Man, listen. She gonna get the DP credits, you know what I'm saying, when they roll and everything. But let's just give it a round of applause.
Definitely needed help.
You want your name on it?
I was about to say it too, and I was like, no, I'm not saying it.
But hey, it's your actress too. She don't want her name on it. Anyway. But no, definitely. And honestly, this is a group effort. Right now, you see me and my partner, and we honestly I would not be able to do this without her. But even let's extend it a little bit further. Like just the people who come on and share, the people who believe in me, empower me to be able to do this. The community that supports us, the community, and this is the thing. There's so much about our culture that you'll never get to see. There's so much about our culture that they don't show. But behind the scenes, behind the media, our culture is full of enlightened, spiritually inclined, purposeful people, powerful people. And that's just a testament to who we are as a people. Whether we from Sierra Leone, or born in this Black American experience. And I will tell you,
I was about to say,
before we go. So I did my African ancestry, and I am from the Mazi people of Burkina Faso.
Wow.
And one of the famous, most notable people of that is Thomas Sankara, who was a famous, but he was actually he was murdered. He was assassinated for trying to unite. And get rid of the European power structure that existed, and it's I believe it's in that it's the West Coast, but it's off of the lip.
Okay. Okay.
But it's a little bit inland. It's near. I gotta see it on the map again.
Okay.
I gotta see it on the map again.
Okay.
But yeah, the Mazi people of Burkina Faso. I did the African ancestry, and I was excited. The feeling I got just to be able to. That's why I was so interested about your culture and like man, I'm from Staten Island.
You gotta go there now. You gotta go see your people.
I'm from New York. Oh yeah.
What they all look like you.
Yo, listen, man.
That'd be dope.
I had dreams about it, but that's a whole other talk, whole other conversation.
Yeah.
But I definitely thank you for coming out.
Yay.
Appreciate you 100%. Thank you for everybody who tuned in. This has been another episode of Family Business. Our wealth, our health, our business. Family business. See you next time.
Peace out.
That was
Ain't
dope.
something else.